Roll call, please, Teresa.
Nelson.
Here.
Orison.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Wunschel.
Here.
Hanson. Reed.
Here.
Bulk.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3 on the agenda tonight, we have, I believe, Will Horsley from the Clay County Conservation Commission to give us an update on the Nature Center project.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. It's my privilege to be here this evening, and we are excited at the Clay County Conservation Board to give an update and a fiscal summary of the Oneota Environmental Learning Center. Many of you might remember in April of 2018, we spearheaded a logistical effort to move a 8,000 square foot Morton building from out by the fairgrounds, approximately 9.51 miles through the city of Spencer to its final resting place on the eastern component of the Oneota Park complex. So we are excited to progress forward with this learning center. We had a very, very strong public awareness campaign in 2018 and 2019, working with CMBA here locally to design and develop a very modern, large-scale regional learning facility to facilitate any and all educational, recreational events here in Spencer as well as regionally. Of course, with COVID affecting all of us here in the last 24 months, a lot of that momentum and that campaign have been pushed to the right to some degree. We are currently back on course with this learning center. And what I would want to do is just take you through this booklet this evening. Many of you know our efforts in the public as well as throughout the county with our full-time naturalist, Mrs. Bree Blum. Bree does an amazing job and is able to facilitate over 11,000 students that she does see and educate based off of natural resources, biology, ecology, ornithology, and etc. She is something that we can all be very proud of to promote the importance of natural resources, environmental education to all the students, not only young students, but also students of any and all ages. So our main objective with this Learning Center project is to complete a 8,000 square foot scholastic facility right here in Spencer, Iowa. We have procured a loan in the amount of $720,000 through the USDA. That is a Rural Economic Development Loan and Grant, which will be channeled through SMU as well as Iowa Lakes Electric. And that is a strong portion of this project. Pre-COVID, this project did estimate out at $1.5 million. Of course, today we're right at $2.1 million. So like any large-scale project, funding and time are things that we're doing our best to combat. So looking on the 11th page, which is the second page from the end, the proposed budget and proposed revenues. Private donations, we are right at $525,000. Local and regional grants, $420,000. The Rural Economic Development Loan and Grant in the amount of $720,000. And then the Clay County Conservation Board capital improvement funds, just over $500,000. We have opened up every channel regarding funding sources. We're working with the National Wild Turkey Federation, the local Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, amongst many other local and state funding sources. And we're right on that cutting edge of making this thing happen. What I would ask you to consider at this time would be to see if there are any and all funding sources or local grants that might fit into the grand scheme of this project. Again, we feel like this is something that will bring tourism as well as promote the economic impact locally here in the city of Spencer. We already are very, very vested with the city of Spencer as Jared and myself have worked together on projects, especially educational projects, to support natural resources and education here in the city of Spencer. One example that was suggested to me to come to you with tonight is I know the Clay County Board of Supervisors did approve $125,000 to be allocated over the course of 5 years to the city of Spencer for the Fire Training Development Center. And I'd like to challenge you folks to consider that in the upcoming budgets, if you'd be willing to work with us to promote this 8,000 square foot learning center right here in Spencer. Other than that, private donation wise, we've been really trying to promote a public awareness campaign. And before January 1, we had 3 very generous donations which encompassed $31,500. And those are just private citizens in the city of Spencer that want to see their kids and their grandkids enjoy this learning center. So with that being said, that was a real hasty overview. However, I'd field any questions that you might have on this project.
You commented on the USDA $750,000
Yes, Tom?
loan, but
Yes.
then you slipped in that grant word. So how much do you know?
It is an
there a-
actual loan in the amount of $720,000,
Okay.
0% interest over 10 years. So
Okay.
we would be utilizing the Clay County Conservation Board Capital Improvement Fund to pay $72,000 a year to procure and complete that loan.
Okay.
Well, my comment is that you've taken a horse barn and really turned it into an asset for the county. It really is impressive.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're all about recycling, reusing, that's conservation. And I think that's something that we're only as good as leading by example. So if we can show that to our citizens and the local populace of Spencer that, hey, we're able to take something like that and redevelop it, we're very excited about that. So thank you for your words of praise.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, I just want to thank you and Will for all you've done with regard to this project. I think Oneota is one of the gems that we have in Clay County and Spencer in particular. Whenever I'm out there, there's always other people out there. And I think that this Learning Center will only enhance that moving forward. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your time this evening.
Okay, moving on. Item 4, the consent agenda. Item 4A is a motion to approve the city council minutes of January 3, 2022. 4B is a motion for renewal of licenses, renewal of Class B beer permit with Sunday sales for Godfather's Pizza, and renewal of Class C liquor license with Sunday sales for Monterey Mexican Restaurant, subject to final approval by the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division. C, resolution authorizing and directing the temporary closing of portions of city streets in the city of Spencer, Iowa for the 2022 Flag Fest celebration, June 10 through 12, 2022. D, a resolution to provide for a notice of hearing on proposed plans and specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for 2022 wastewater treatment plant driveway project. The hearing date is February 7, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. and the letting date February 4th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Item E is a resolution to provide for a notice of hearing on proposed plans and specifications, form of contract, estimate of cost for 2022 HMA overlay project. The hearing date would be February 7, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. and the letting date February 3rd, 2022 at 3 p.m. F is a motion to approve the residential tax abatement applications for Tyler and Laura Johnson, 515 East 8th, Patricia A. Schmidt, Revocable Trust, 1612 Country Club Lane, Eric and Jean Johnson, 2201 22nd Avenue West, Terry and Ruby Peterson, 1804 20th Avenue West, and Derek and Melissa Bailey, 1601 Kristen Drive, all subject to review by the Clay County Assessor. And G is a motion to approve subordination agreement for property included in the substandard housing program as requested by Northwest Bank in connection with mortgage refinancing. I have a motion.
I'll introduce them.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tom. Any discussion? Okay, I would just like Mark to comment, if he would. And this is about item E, Mark, on that overlay project.
Certainly.
Could you just explain to the citizens what that project entails?
Certainly, that will be what we call as an HMA, or a hot mixed asphalt overlay. And the area will be in the St. Luke Drive, 11th Avenue Southeast, 12th Street Southeast, excuse me, Woodland Avenue and Fairway Street. So sometimes some of the folks maybe not know where Woodland Avenue and Fairway Street are at. So that's going up 10th Avenue Southeast towards St. Luke Drive, and that's the little loop that's on the west side of that, the two streets that meet together there. So should be a good project, good maintenance. The concrete is in pretty poor condition in those areas, and we feel an asphalt overlay will be money well spent.
Yeah, and we've tried to patch that together over the past several years, and it really hasn't done the job.
Well, it's a lot of, with the hills, you get a lot of salt and chloride on those, which deteriorates it a little faster. The street division has done concrete patches on the east end of St. Luke Drive. We've also done cold mix. We've also done, it's an oil and rock mix for temporary patching. But it is certainly overdue for some long-term maintenance.
Okay. Any questions for Mark on that? Okay, thanks, Mark. Any other questions? If not, please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda passes. Okay, under old business, item 5A is an ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 2, Chapter 5, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, and Chapter 9A of the Spencer City Code to provide for the use classification of custom meat business, and this will be the final filing.
I'll introduce him. Tracy second.
Okay, we got Donovan with the first and Tracy with the second on that. Is there any discussion? I think this has been pretty thoroughly vetted throughout, so let's vote by machine, please.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item B is an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 1 of the Spencer City Code concerning construction permits, and this is the final filing. Who got that? Motion made by Tom.
I'll second.
Second by Bill. Any discussion? Please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5C is an ordinance amending Title 5, Chapter 1, Article F concerning commercial use of public property, outdoor dining, and this, too, is the final filing.
So move on that.
Motion made by Lauren,
Second.
second by Donovan. Any discussion? Please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5D, before we proceed to this, I'm going to have Alec, the planning director, come forward. And this is the food truck, commonly known as the food truck ordinance. And I know there's been a lot of hard work put into this in the past, and we want to get this right. It's up for final filing tonight. I had a conversation with Alec about this today, and Alec has had some conversations with some of the food truck more of the food truck vendors in the city and I think elsewhere. And just in total transparency here, Alec sent out a memo. I think he thought it was going to the entire council, but it didn't. So,
My apologies on that.
yeah. I'll grant him one grace on this one.
I appreciate it.
So I think after we hear Alex, we might want to consider tabling this ordinance on final filing and moving it back to committee. And we can talk about when and where and all of that. But Alec, you've got the floor.
Okay. Yes, once we've gotten this along here, we've been able to have some of our conversation with some of our local folks, more of our folks that do come to the community about this ordinance, and been discussing a few of the key topics in there. I won't take up too much of your time with it, but I would recommend that we push this back to back to committee to discuss some of these topics, to make sure that we're all on the same page with what we're putting onto the books, so that we can better enforce it and help our community a little bit better with that. A few of the topics that I had put in the memo are on the food protection management and the health code, looking at what the health code actually mandates for food trucks and local businesses alike, to better take a look at that for the ordinance, looking at sale of merchandise, hours of operation, and the decibel ratings. A lot of these conversations we've had extensively throughout the period of this ordinance creation. I just would like one last committee meeting to discuss it at length.
I was contacted by somebody just before meeting tonight, and it seems they have their act together, because these things are the same things that were mentioned to me, and this is by a non-food truck owner. So I encouraged the food truck owner that contacted them to reach out directly to me. I hope that happens, but so yeah, I think maybe we need to just make sure we've got our T's crossed and our I's dotted here. I don't know that I have any huge issue with what we decided on, but after hearing from this person and who they heard were relaying the message to, I do think maybe we should visit about it a little bit. We got a little time before food trucks will start rolling anyway, so.
Any other comments or questions?
You need a motion to table?
Yeah, we would need a motion to table, and I don't know if we should, in my opinion, I believe it should go to the committee of the whole, so that we're all on board with this and we can just move it along. And I don't know how next Monday, there's in between council meetings, which would be the 24th. If that would work for everyone, maybe a 5:30 committee of the whole. And as I understand it, this would be the only thing on the agenda at 5:30. Would that work for everyone?
That doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I'm okay.
The day or the time, Donovan?
The time,
The time?
or the day is gonna be tough. It'll be hit and miss on that day.
Okay. Okay.
So
We can work that out. Teresa, you and I can see if we can get some consensus, and we could talk to Ron when he gets back and so forth.
I make a
Okay.
motion,
Let's-
we move
let's
this
have
item,
just-
we table this item and table it back to the committee of the whole.
Okay, yeah, we'll just take that. So Bill has made the motion to table this back and move it to the committee of the whole at a meeting date to be determined. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Donovan, second. And This is just a
Can
motion.
be a voice call.
Voice,
All those in
okay.
favor?
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion,
Aye.
thank you, Brian. We're not forgetting about you. The motion passes. Motion passes. Thank you, Alec, and we'll get in touch with you later. Okay. Okay. Item 5E is an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 9, Section 3, and Title IX, Chapter 9A, Section 3 to amend development regulations in E and E1 heavy industrial zoning districts. This is the second filing. A motion made by Bill. Second by Tom. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Balk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 5F, an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 2, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, and Chapter 9A of the Spencer City Code to provide for the use classification of data center. And this too is the second filing. Motion made by Lauren. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Donovan. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote by machine.
Just give Brian enough time.
Yeah.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Balk.
Aye.
Thanks.
Motion passes. Okay, item 5G, an ordinance establishing the City of Spencer, 7th Avenue Southwest Sanitary Sewer District, and establishing sanitary sewer connection fees in the district. This is the second filing. Motion made by Lauren. Second by Tom. Any discussion? Please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Balk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay. Agenda item 6 is new business. 6A is a motion to approve Park and Recreation Department Tree Services Agreement for Campbell Tree Service for 2021 and 2022 as recommended by the Park Board. Who got that? Tom. Motion made by Tom, second by Tracy. Jared, you want to talk just a little bit about this?
Yeah, good evening. That should actually say 22 and 23.
20, okay, thank
Yep.
you.
It'll be a 2-year agreement with a review after 1 year. This is for all of the tree removal, forest tree trimming that we do within the city and the city trees and the easements. We did receive 2 bids. As you can see there, Campbell's was the lowest. Campbell's Tree Service is currently our tree contractor, so we feel comfortable moving forward with him. He's been through the process many times before. He's done good work for us, and we recommend continuing on with that agreement. So,
Okay, any questions for Jared? Okay. Any discussion? Kind of wait for Brian here. Yeah, okay. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, 6B. What's that?
Brian, did you say
Oh,
aye?
I just assumed. And probably not a good thing with Brian.
I thought I said aye. If I didn't, I apologize.
There was laughter going on.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
You're okay. You're okay.
You're good.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. 6B is a motion to take action on Council of Local Governments grant for second floor accessibility study project. The state portion of this grant would be $15,062. The city match would be $5,438. An in-kind match, $4,604. And Alec, I think we might need you to talk about this grant proposal.
Good evening again. So back in the fall here, City of Spencer submitted for not only the grant to do this second floor accessibility project, but it was for to hold the 2023 Preserve Iowa Summit. We did hear news that we did not get the summit. However, the state would still like to offer us the grant to do the second floor accessibility project, if you would like. We do need to have that information by the 31st. All I would do is I would revise the scope of work to take out the summit work that we would be doing, revise the schedule, and move forward with the second floor accessibility project. This project, like I put in my memo, it's something that we've been trying to wrap our hands around what we can actually do with the second floor, looking at how folks are getting up there, the accessibility issues that they face, different ways to alleviate those accessibility issues are what we're trying to get out of the scope of work of this project. I have no doubt it would help us move forward with other specific grants that would help with the actual work instead of studies. But this is just one route that we could take to try and look at that problem as a whole. If the council would like to move forward with this.
Okay, any questions for Alec on this?
We're going to discuss it after.
Yeah, let's get a motion on the table. Okay, Bill, okay, motion made by Bill.
I'll second.
Second by Donovan. Okay, now we'll open it up for discussion and questions.
My question is, and we talked about this at the agenda meeting. Thank you, Brian, for turning my mic on. I always question grants because we got a match and we spend dollars. And if it'll move us forward to be able to get additional grants for upstairs, I'm okay with it. And maybe I'm taking this at too simple of an approach, is that we pretty much know what buildings have two accesses and what don't, which ones don't. And do we need to spend the $5,000 to tell us that you can't put a back stairway in building B? Or an elevator. So that's my question. I know Sharifa, your name was mentioned, not in vain, but your name was mentioned. And so I don't know from a preservation standpoint, historic side, whether this helps. I hate to do a grant, spend $5,000 we already know what buildings it's got a back stairway. That's my question.
And I completely understand the sentiment. Looking back at even our guidelines project that was recently completed, we have had folks go after grants utilizing these studies that we have in place, the guidelines that are put in place, that have been successful. Hanson's is one.
Right.
We have had interest in looking at other projects as well in town and using these studies similar to the guidelines, similar to the second floor accessibility project that we could utilize to go after these grants. I can't speak as far as the success rate on them, but I know they would be helpful because I've had the opportunity to go and look at some of our second floor downtown areas, and we do an excellent job of doing tours of those during our Historic Preservation Month and certain events throughout the summer, fall, and spring. There's some very interesting things up there, not only from the historical side of things, but what's still up there now could take a look at.
And that was my question. I don't discount the
Yep.
fact, I've been on 2 or 3 of those different upstairs tours, and some of those upstairs are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But if it'll help us get a next grant, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just spending $5,000 to tell us we can't put a stairway up the back of that building, which we already know we can't anyway. That was my question.
Yep.
And I'm okay with it, but I thought the council ought to hear at least one person's
Completely
concern.
understand.
But you're saying that if, this would be helpful to get more grants to,
It would help us to continue to look at this situation, and I feel it would help
Okay.
us down the road looking at other grant options. To show that, hey, we've looked at this, these are the accessibility issues X building faces, these are the potential solutions that a qualified consultant told us to look at.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Brian? Balk?
I do. I,
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I'll echo, I guess, what Bill said and what Alex is saying. Obviously, as a building owner down there, anything we can do to help promote that, plus expand the livability of the downtown area, would be well advised, I think, especially for $5,000.
Okay. All right.
I got one.
Yeah, Donovan.
I'm not a big proponent of constantly hiring people to give us a survey or give us this or that, and then we put it on a shelf, and 10 years from now, it's out of date anyway, and different codes have changed, and, $5,000 isn't as bad as some of them that are 30, 70,000, whatever they are, I see that same point. I hate to see us even spend $5,000 and not know more than what we know now, or it's gonna sit there and we're not gonna do anything with it. We spent a lot of money on a lot of other type of surveys or whatever you wanna call it, but I guess I'm kinda torn on this a little bit. But I do wanna see the upstairs. If we're gonna do something with it,
Oh, yeah.
I'm all in. If we're gonna actually use this report and we get the council to buy in on actually wanting to do something with the upstairs storefronts or whatever they're gonna do, apartments, I'm all for if we're gonna do it, but if it's just gonna be a report, just to have a report on our shelf somewhere, then I'm not in favor of it, so.
Well, I wouldn't think that we'd do that just to shelf this. I don't see that happening, because there are people that want to see things happen with some downtown buildings, the upstairs, and we know we need housing. But I would also say, I'm sure this has to be considered somewhat of a baby step to that, because none of this is gonna happen very fast. Because some of these investments in some of these building tops are massive, because of the fact that these buildings are dozens of years old. So, the thing about that is that whatever we find out right now, things are always changing and evolving. So in 5 years, there could be a whole new set of rules as far as accessibility and things like that. So in that instance, then yeah, maybe this study will be out of date and void, but I still think it's a wise move if we can get some information that will help people pull the trigger on making something happen with their upstairs.
One of the things, and we did talk a bit about this at the agenda meeting on Wednesday, and I think, Alec, I challenged you to give us what the best use of this could possibly be. If this enhances our ability to do something down the road, it's $5,000 well spent. There's no question about that. If we are applying for a grant and we need to show that we've had an accessibility study, we've got it in the bag. But to Donovan's point and to Bill's point, if that's not going to happen down the road,
Yes.
then it's a waste of taxpayer dollars.
To both your points, I cannot identify a grant that would utilize this at this time. To be completely open with you, I have no doubt that studies of this nature do help with these grant proposals. It's just I don't have anything on the books lined up in the cylinders that require this.
Alec, do you see this, the report we get
Yes.
is going to go building by building, and whatever Tom owns down there, it says, yes, you can, or no, you can't?
So originally, when we were looking at this project, we were looking at a downtown-wide inventory. We had to scale that back because the price tag on a study of that nature was in the 100,000s, which we knew this grant would not cover. So we tried to focus it in on key areas that our second floors require, and accessibility is a topic that a lot of us know there's an issue, but how can we address it was the big thing. So that's where we kind of led it to, if that helps.
One other comment I would make is that if this could lead to some other things with, people wanting to do things. So as a council, we might start thinking about the fact that maybe we need to figure out where we can come up with some funds to help with this too. Maybe there's grants that we can offer to people that are willing to put that money into their building from the city side. So this, it could snowball or it could go stale, but
Never know.
no, you don't, but I'd
Yep.
sure like to see it. Like I said, it's kind of a baby step and I think you need to take it,
And
especially if it's gonna help you with grants.
Sharifa, if you have any topics on the grant side of things, by all means. Come on.
Sharifa, welcome.
It wasn't rhetorical, evidently.
I'll just talk, in some of our conversations on the Historic Preservation Commission, we have talked about those property owners that are looking at developing their upper story. And I guess with my other hat on, we have had inquiries at the chamber, two specific property owners that are looking at doing some pretty significant rehab projects in their upper story. And the questions they have are accessibility and parking. So, this may help with one of those. One of the things that we were really hoping to get out of this study was a better understanding of, if you could have someone that's interviewing the property owners on the west side of 4th Avenue or west side of Grand in the 400 block and say, okay, all you property owners, if we could place an elevator at this point and get accessibility to all of your buildings, is that something that you're willing to participate in? And so that's really the point of this. The fire escapes and the second entrances is certainly a good point, but really it comes down to elevators. We want to make sure that if these spaces are able to be used by others, it's not just 19-year-olds without a family or a dog or a bicycle. So how do we make these spaces more usable and therefore more appealing to those property owners that then may want to put in some historic tax credits into those buildings? So it's also looking at it from, some larger accessibility issues as far as even installing elevators. So.
Any other questions for Sharifa? Okay, thanks.
Thanks for adding those comments, that helps.
Okay, any other further discussion? Okay, even though this is not a high budget item, and it just requires a voice vote, I think I'm going to ask for a roll call tonight on this vote. So,
Yeah, one final question.
yeah, go ahead.
And it might get into the weeds, but with this grant, does that money get allocated out of the economic development fund? Is it a general fund? Is it a what kind of fund would that, and I know it's not a whole lot of money, I get that, guys, but just for future, what are we?
I believe we had identified, we have a general miscellaneous line item that we had targeted back in the fall as the source of our funds. So it's a general fund expense.
Okay. Little feedback. Okay,
Feedback of us.
yeah. Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you, Alec, and please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
No.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay, item C is to approve change order number 2 for 2018 East 4th Street Utility Extension Project to reflect as-built quantities. Motion made by Tom. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Item D is a resolution accepting work for the 2018 East 4th Street Utility Extension Project.
I'll introduce that as well.
Motion made by Bill. Is there a second? Second by Tom. Any discussion? Please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Bulk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution is approved. Item 6E is a motion to approve professional services contract for proposed 2022 25th Street Southwest Sewer Project with Cruz Kate and Nelson PC. Motion made by Lauren.
Second.
Second by Donovan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. 6F is a resolution awarding contract for 2022 Drainage District Number 47 Outlot Project. This is quotation project.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, motion made by Bill. Seconded by Lauren and Jim. Would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, my copy is still on the photocopier, I think. So Friday, we took bids. This is to clean out it's part of the drainage district. It was relocated when they built Menards. If you remember, that used to come through the corner when the curve used to be in the highway. There was a big control structure and the water used to come down and then come along 11th Avenue there. Well, when they built Menards, they rerouted that, and then it discharges through a box culvert under that beltway, the West Beltway, just on the west side of Menards, into low ground. There was a ditch along there. It's pretty heavily vegetated, and over the years since then, the trees have died. They've started falling down. It's filled in. We've had some beaver dam problems, and part of that agreement with the property owner previously would have been with Red Crib Farms. When we did all that work was that if it needs to be cleaned out, the city will do that clean out, not the drainage district, because it was moved by the city for the drainage district. So anyway, we're going to clean that out, and we took bids Friday. We got 5 bids ranging anywhere from $31,500 up to 70,500. Our estimate was 59.9. The low bid was, he's 20,000 below the rest of the bids at 31. Corey Jurgens from Esterville, I did talk to him today just to make sure that he was okay with his bid, and he said, yeah, he was. He said, they just got done doing 31 miles of drainage ditch, so he says, we're kind of in the groove. They're going to be in town anyway, working on other projects, and in fact, today he called, he's going to do some sub work for one of our contractors now. So he's looking for, pick up a little more work, he's comfortable with it, so we would recommend award to Corey Jurgens Construction in the amount of $31,503.50.
Any questions for Jim? Any discussion? Thanks, Jim. Okay. Please vote by machine.
Nelson, I. Orson, I. Larson, I. Wunschel, I. Reed, I. Balk.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. Jim, I shouldn't have had you sit down so quickly. We've got the, item 7 is the engineer's report.
I don't really have anything specific. Our storm sewer project out on the west side of town, we're done for the winter. He did get down to the corner. The next step is to cross the beltway, and of course, we won't do that in the middle of the winter. We've got to patch that back right away. It's a timing thing. We want to get in and get out. So he's going to wait till spring and do that, but that part of that project went well. We did set a letting date tonight for for the HMA project that Mark talked about, and then also for the driveways at the wastewater treatment plant. And if you haven't been out there lately, or you question the need to do this, go drive on it. Don't take your wife's car. But it's in pretty bad shape, and get a lot of truck traffic in there. Hauling, you have some contract hauling of wastewater, and beat up that driveway pretty good. So we're trying to get that out on the street and get bids for that before guys get booked up for the summer. So that project's out there too. Otherwise, if you have any questions, I can.
What kind of estimate do you have of time for the beltway to be closed for getting across?
I think,
assuming good weather.
yeah, it's probably 7 days total. It might try to squeeze that down. It'll take by the time you remove the pavement, lay pipe across there, that'll probably take 2 days by the time you get it backfilled. We'll use a high early strength mix, so if we have warm weather, it'll take a day for that to cure out, and you got to throw a couple extra days in there just if things go wrong. So maybe 5 days.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anything else?
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 8, city manager's report. Dan?
Just a couple of things. Working on CIP, we'll be meeting with department heads this week, trying to get those knocked out. And also working on putting budget together along with the CIP, and working on several potential economic development projects.
Okay. Any questions for Dan? Okay. Thank you, Dan. Under the mayor's report, we've got a few things, and I added a few things. First is a motion to approve the appointment of Brian Balk to the Com Center Board. Entertain a motion for that. Motion made by Tom. Second by Donovan. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Brian's on the Com Center Board. Okay. Item 2 is a motion to approve the appointment of John Zinn as the Ward 2 representative to the Compensation Advisory Board. This is to fulfill the term of Kevin Brown. The term expires June 30, 2025.
My ward, I'll make
Thank you, Bill. Second by Tracy. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. John Zinn is on the Compensation Advisory Board. Okay. I have a couple other things. First of all, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Just a little history from the former social studies teacher, and I do say former, and I'll be brief. I'll be brief on this. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established in 1983. Maybe some in the audience weren't born then, I'm not sure. But by President Reagan and Congress established that, and all the states have observed that day since 2000. And Dr. King, of course, was the preeminent leader of the civil rights movement and an outstanding proponent of freedom, equality, and justice. And I think it's only right that we take some time today to honor this, his service to America. So that's my comment on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Item 4 on the mayor's report. I'd like to say that the library board met the other night, and we have a new library director. I'd like to welcome our new library director. It's Sarah Beth Red Wing Foxon. She's the former children's librarian, and I think Sarah Beth is going to do a great job. She did a great job 2 weeks ago when she filled in and gave the library report, and expect really good things coming with Sarah Beth, and welcome her to the city department heads. Next, I'd like to thank Jared and the Parks Department, the Fire Department, the Love Where You Live Committee for the outstanding job they did the other night with the, is it skates and s'mores, or s'mores and skates, and burning of the green, and all of that. I didn't go down and skate. That would have been, that may have attracted more people. I don't know if they would have tried to see me skate. But anyway, went by there, and there was a huge crowd down there, adults and children, and then the burning of the green. That was a fun event. I did attend that, Jared, and talked to Chief about that, and it was a very, very nice event, very well attended. The weather was pretty nice for that too. So anyway, thank you for all your work on that. And then we had a community first. I'd like to congratulate Coach Dave Storm and the girls wrestling team. They held the first girls wrestling dual meet at Spencer Fieldhouse about a week and a half ago or so. And Coach Storm and the girls did a great job. One convincing duel, and they're off to a great start. Actually, I guess it's midway through the season now. They're doing just an outstanding job, and we wish them the best of luck the rest of the way through. And then finally, Eggs and Issues is coming up, minus the eggs, this Saturday, January 22nd, from 9 to 10:30, and this is, again, a great opportunity for people to contact their state legislators, come to them with your concerns or questions. They're just getting started down in Des Moines. They've got a big agenda, and I'm sure that they'll be ready for your questions when you talk to them on Saturday. So that's all I've got under the mayor's report. And I'll try to make them a little briefer in the future. Item 10, council and committee reports.
We got
Dan?
several things coming up. Oh, I better turn this on.
Yeah.
We got several things coming up. We got a committee of the whole to go over CIP on the 31st. I got goal setting on February 2nd. And we, in addition to our regular meeting on the 7th, we talked tonight about having a finance committee meeting before the council meeting like we did tonight on that day.
Okay. And And then we'll talk about another committee of the whole meeting to talk about that food truck ordinance as well. Okay, and we'll get together on that. Okay, item 11 is a motion to approve the bills and claims. Motion made by Bill. Second by Tom.
Second?
I'm giving it to Brian. Yeah, we'll give it to him. Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, just guessing. Okay, item 12. Other business or opportunity to address the council. Does anybody want to step forward? Lenny, please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Lenny Scaletta, 709 East 12th Street. I just wanted to say something about the where you're going to get grants or get money for the second floor accessibility. And I mentioned to the city council meeting months ago about the government has allocated $400 million to house homeless veterans. Okay, maybe you can get a prior grant or something from them to help out, or maybe they've got, if you call them up or something, maybe they have some ideas or something for you. I have no idea. It's just a thought, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Lenny.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Do we need to give Brian some time to make the motion to adjourn?
We're not there yet.
One sec.
Just curious.
We've got Alec. You
Hi
needed a
again,
little
everyone.
more time tonight.
Yeah, sorry, won't take up any more time, but I do want to make note that come February 4th at 7:30, the Planning Department, Public Works, and SMU will be doing a contractors meeting for all of our plumbers, electricians, general contractors here in town to go through some of our new permitting processes, go through some of the requirements, inspection, setting up inspections, and go through all those types of things. There will be donuts and coffee, so 7:30 in the morning.
Donuts and coffee.
Donuts and coffee.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Alec.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Finally. Motion made by Brian.
Second.
Second by Donovan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. We're adjourned.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good night.
Thank you, Teresa.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job, Brian.
He had his, I bet he had his Facebook or something on.
Yeah.